SEO for the wedding industry, how to get leads as a wedding venue, Google Ads, Facebook ads, showing up and getting leads. So, hold on a second. Why is it so cold? Like, literally just a week ago, this was, like, the water's still warm. Look what I'm wearing, thermals. Anyhow, wedding SEO, getting leads in the wedding space. A lot of this actually will work for a lot of the wedding suppliers as well, wedding photographers and things like that. But I'm just gonna chat to wedding venues and wedding receptions, function venues. I've got well over $5 million spent on wedding related key terms with Google Ads. So a lot of Google Ads data, about that much on Facebook ads, if not more. All of those things work. Ranking at the top of Google definitely works. Google listing with lots of Google reviews definitely works. So all of the strategies will work, and a very simple approach is build a website that lists all of the functions that you cater for, weddings, conferences. Each of those pages should clearly display all of the inclusions, how many guests, stand up, sit down, times for each category. So you have your main service offerings. Then for the sake of SEO, you will be creating guides on the various wedding related topics. What I've done is I focused heavily on a lot of the wedding suppliers. So when someone is searching for a wedding photographer, wedding videographer, wedding planner, a lot of those listicle directory posts or just blogs on the topic are found on my wedding venue sites. So from an SEO perspective, we cover a lot of ground. Anyone searching for a wedding celebrant may actually come through a wedding venue website to then see and pick out a wedding celebrant. I then network with those wedding suppliers and build relationships with them. We link to one another, share some SEO love, etc. So from an SEO perspective, we now have a website which displays our services. We now have a cluster of website blogs and guides that prove to Google that we're trustworthy. We now have a whole bunch of backlinks that are hitting the website, and so up we go with rankings. Now, the first places we're going to rank is locally near the venue, because there's probably not that many venues within a few kilometer radius of you, so you should get first position pretty quickly, especially if you start getting a few weddings through the door. 200 or 300 people in a location with all of their phones and devices sends Google pretty strong signals what's going on there. Then come the Google reviews, of course. So these are just the stock standard, non-turbo, generic things that apply to every and any local business. Having a Google ad fired up for an exact match key term, so exact term of wedding venue, wedding reception, take that out to a landing page, which is your best sales landing page, not an SEO page, which you can track conversions on, unique phone numbers and things like that. That's where you probably will have less words, more images, videos and things like that. So in other words that sell instead of words that please the Google gods and SEO key terms and things like that. So then you use that funnel page to send Facebook ads traffic to as well. So with Google Ads, let's say the keyword is conference venue or function venue or wedding venue. Each of those should be its own landing page, its own unique landing page. So then conversions start rolling through during December, January, February, March. They're the busy days. We have leads dropping as cheap as $80, $100, $70. Now that might sound like a lot, but the way we set up our Google Ads is to choose the leads that are higher quality conversions. Google has that data. So it's a little bit different to how I see many campaigns set up, where it's just a land grab. We want to attract all the key terms, doesn't matter, we just want all the clicks. So with Facebook ads, I generally play around with two. Send some traffic to the landing page, see how it converts. Facebook doesn't like people leaving Facebook. I don't want to say it's a penalty, but Facebook will prefer the user to stay on Facebook. So a lot of the time I will simply have a lead contact form, and this is where in Facebook ads I always have more friction. So we'll have how many guests attending, other questions on obviously the date, the other, but essentially reasons to weed out the crap, prices and things like that. Look, it always helps when there is an offer, a loss leading offer to get people through the door, and then you cross-sell, upsell, etc. So I'm naming basically standard things that work for a local business. However, in this case, Facebook ads work very well. In a lot of other businesses, pest control, for example, a locksmith, you wouldn't run a Facebook ad because you only look for a pest control when you have a problem, and when you have a problem, you're generally going to search Google. You're not going to start scrolling through your Facebook feed. So with Google ads, it's exact match key terms. With a landing page, with Facebook ads, there's a no-brainer category called relationship status engaged, and you could just permanently leave that on. In Sydney or Melbourne, at any one time, there's 50 to 60,000 people that Facebook recognizes as engaged, meaning they've changed their status on Facebook. I actually feel like less people are starting to fill out some of those details. It's just a hunch. I don't really have any data on it. So what I did about a year ago is I removed that targeting and basically not hitting only relationship status engaged. And guess what? Leads are still rolling through. So it's just a matter of adjusting the budget and adjusting the creative every month, adding new ad groups, targeting different audiences and things like that, rinse and repeat. But there's actually something a bit more serious that I've started to chat in the early stages of this process. It's asking the venue, hey, like, what is it about your venue that makes your venue unique? For example, people come to Yarra Valley for the beautiful wineries and the scenic, the fresh air, the stars. You have a certain amount of people that will just love to get married there. Then others are just looking for something cheaper, something that's just a haul, right, and anything in between. Then you have your city, then you have your water views, then you have your barn, all the different types of venues out there. Know which one you are, obviously, and double down on the things that you're good at. There was just some recent events venues that I reviewed, and I felt like they were in a beautiful location, but they didn't capture it. So it just looked like another hall in the middle of somewhere, but they were near a forest, they were near a park, and I felt like that wasn't captured correctly. So no wonder they're experiencing just very average leads, very generic leads. So my first advice was, hey, those few images that I saw snooping through a few of your Facebook posts, I feel like you were missing out. That's such a beautiful area. You might offer catering, you might not offer catering, all of those things. Everyone has their like unique selling proposition. Make sure you double down on what yours is. A recent one that's crossed my desk is an air hanger, like an airplane hanger. How cool is that? An airplane hanger. What do you mean? So there'll be enough people that'll be like, whoa, I can have a plane in my, someone that loves to fly. That's not even something that would have crossed my mind, right? So that's where Facebook ads will act as top of funnel, meaning they will introduce the idea of it, and then everything else goes down the funnel further. A lot of people look at that, I don't like planes, I don't want to get married in a hangar. Who would do that? So I guess double down on the things that like clearly you have a huge advantage on, or not, right? In other words, niche down. There are 300 other wedding venues in Sydney. Like, how and why are you different? This air hanger one was incredible. I can definitely see this working. You go with someone wants the 70s, 80s, old planes. It could be an event launch. That I can definitely visually see that working, but we need to now capture it. I'll do a separate video for that. So wedding venues is just another local business. Wedding venues, we always start with deconstructing the competitors. In each city, unfortunately, the dense the city is, the more wedding venues, which means the more money's been spent on SEO. So the cost of entry, we need to beat those backlinks, we need to beat those pages, we need to do better on our on-page. So it's an audit is instantly done on the competitor sites in, let's say, Sydney or Melbourne. An audit is done on their pages, on their traffic, competitor research and keyword research on exactly the terms that brings us profitable leads. So that's quite standard. Landing pages for Google ads and Facebook ads. Conversion tracking is a must, so we know how many leads came from SEO, how many leads came from Google ads, and how many leads came from Facebook ads. And then rinse and repeat, pivot, and evolve. Hope that helps.